want to talk about some of the keys of surviving the winter and thriving through the winter, not getting beat up mentally and physically by the cold weather and all the hours of darkness. So first thing is you got to have discipline, right? Discipline, acts of discipline, willingness, blah, blah, blah. Let me give some examples. When you get out of the bed in the morning, or when you're in the bed in the morning and you're under your warm blanket and you know how cold it's about to be when you get out that blanket, you have to be willing to be disciplined, to get out the bed and get dressed in some warm clothes, or even start with a cold shower, which is an act of discipline, and then get dressed, right? So for me, I just took a cold shower, but I ended it on warm. I started cold and then went warm, and it felt so good. I was like, yeah. So, I'm sorry for that. It felt amazing, right? But I'm knowing like I can't stay in the shower all day. I have to get dressed. And between getting out the shower, between being in the shower and getting dressed, I'm gonna be cold, right? And so you gotta embrace that, like, okay, this is gonna be tough, but you have to buy into the process. You have to recognize the value of the result. Like, okay, getting dressed and being warm is gonna be worth it. You know what I'm saying? And then, for example, when you're hungry and you gotta cook some good food, like, it's hard to do stuff when you're hungry. That's an act of discipline. But you buy in because you know the value of the result. You're gonna have some good food. You're gonna be, nourished, and which leads into my next point. So after discipline and dressing well and eating well are kind of on the same priority level, I'd say. So you gotta be disciplined, acts of discipline. You gotta dress well, which I'm about to do after this video, and you gotta eat well. Eating well is key. Some things that come to mind, the act of eating, like when we metabolize energy, when we, produce energy in our body, that process gives off heat. And the process of our bodies being warm in itself is an act that requires energy. It requires ATP, right? Which is the body's like energy source, our main source of our currency, the body energy currency, you could say. And so you gotta eat to be warm, because if you don't have enough calories in you, your body's gonna really, really, really struggle to maintain homeostasis. Your body's gonna struggle to stay warm, and that's gonna, make it a lot easier for you to get sick if you simply don't have enough nourishment. You're gonna feel terrible. You're much more likely to feel tired and fatigued and just weary and sluggish, which these things can still happen even if you're eating enough, especially if you're maybe eating too much. But that's an easy thing to check off right there. Make sure you're eating enough food. Protein is the biggest one. Make sure you get enough protein. I think typical recommendations are 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So let's make that simple. Let's say we're going to say 1 gram per pound of body weight. If you're 150 pounds, get 150 grams of protein a day. Get quality protein, meaning you want a lot of protein, most of your protein, if not all, should have all of the essential amino acids. And you want to eat protein that's very bioavailable, meaning you can look these things up as well, like of whatever food you're eating. So for me, like, I eat a lot of ground beef and I eat a lot of skid, which is a type of Icelandic yogurt. Bioavailability is basically how much of that protein our body's actually able to use. So if you compare like ground beef, it has a very high protein bioavailability. If you look at something like peanuts, which people often think is a protein source, which is not terrible, but it doesn't have a very high protein bioavailability, if I'm not mistaken. There are some plant foods that do, but a lot of the plant foods that I've looked up don't have a high protein bioavailability. Hemp seeds is one that does, I think. But anyway, so yeah, look into that stuff. Get your protein in. Carbs and fats are important, but that comes after protein. And then micronutrient stuff, I'm honestly not very educated on that stuff, so I ain't gonna speak on it, but I'm sure that stuff plays a role. But biggest thing, make sure you get your calories in. Okay, what do we got? Acts of discipline, dress well, eat well, sleep well is important for sure. And that also ties in. Acts of discipline is first because it ties into everything. In order to dress well and eat well and sleep well, you have to be willing to act on discipline. And what helps with that is, like I said, recognizing the value of the result that is desirable. You know what I'm saying? Recognize the value, and then you're more willing to go through that, that difficulty, that maybe boredom, but not like you're willing to go through that because you know what the result is that you want. That's pretty much that's the main stuff right there. Exercising comes in there for sure. Exercise is important. That's just important in general. But if you're really struggling through this winter, focus on these things. There are other things, you know what I mean, for sure. But these are just the first things that come to my mind. I wanted to share them. I'm done. Peace out.